All right, test 1 2, test 1 2. Everybody here okay? Everybody here all right? Okay, we're cleaning out some of the bugs in the system here on the technical side, and then we'll get going here really shortly. All right, thanks for coming out. Apparently it is. Yes. So do you have any extra, as the host, do you have any extra responsibilities beyond?
Um, I don't. Everyone else on campus does.
Got it.
Operations, facility.
Field and all that stuff was very structured.
Yeah. And there's a lot from a marketing publication standpoint that it can't be favored Mizzou. So if we have our walk-up songs, everyone else has to have their walk-up song. They could do our fight song as long as you have the other team's fight song. So everything has to be really equal. Yeah.
Is the PA guy reined in also, or is he allowed to emotionally? I was even told that I was supposed to stay pretty, even when I was introducing the hitters for.
Yeah, you're supposed to stay pretty neutral.
Pretty neutral.
Unless you're going to do the same for everybody.
Right.
That's going to piss off Mizzou people if you're that enthusiastic because the other team scores.
That's funny.
So you got to stay pretty neutral.
Okay, thanks for that. And good evening. Welcome to a special edition of Tiger Talk from Bud's Classic Barbecue, just across the street from the Journalism School in downtown Columbia. Brad Trinago here with you. Andrew Bristow helping me out, and we're also getting help from our man Eric with the team. He's going to be the guy, as if you're watching this on the Mizzou Athletics Facebook page. If you have any questions, you can leave those in the comments. We'll try to get to those, too, as we come along here. And if you're out at Bud's, you can go track down Eric wherever he went. Anyway, there's Eric. He's over there in the hoodie, number 42 there, talking to some folks. Anyway, if you have a question, run it by him, and we'll try to work that in as we move along here on this, again, special edition of the show. We're going to have a couple standout Mizzou pitchers with us a little bit later on, Sierra Harrison and Marissa McCann, and, of course, Coach Larissa Anderson will be with us momentarily. The head coach of your Tigers, who we just found out yesterday, the road to the Women's College World Series goes through Columbia, Missouri. Your Tigers are a number 7 overall seed in the nation in the bracket. NCAA regional play starts on Friday, at 4:30 at home against Omaha. General admission tickets go on sale all sessions tomorrow, Tuesday at 10 a.m., and then individual session tickets Wednesday at 10 a.m. You're going to want to jump on those pretty quick, because I think there's going to be a pretty big crowd out there all 3 days for the action. Again, starting with Mizzou and Omaha on Friday at 4:30. Washington and Indiana will play after that. Mizzou will match up against either the Huskies or the Hoosiers coming up on Saturday, and, of course, all those game times to be determined depending on how the results play out. And with all that, we now say hello to the head coach of the Tigers, Larissa Anderson. Coach, first of all, your reaction yesterday during the selection show when you learned that your team had achieved a major goal of yours going back to the preseason, hosting regionals and potentially super regionals if you're able to reach that point.
Absolutely ecstatic. I mean, when you set those goals in the beginning of the season and the season starts to play out and you hope you did enough body of work to be able to be recognized and then to be rewarded with a top 8 seed, it's all that hard work pays off. And I'm just so happy for our players and their families are able to see them in our hometown, and then obviously our fans to be able to play in our great atmosphere.
Your team was picked in the preseason to finish 11th in the SEC. And like I just mentioned, you wound up number 7 in the entire nation, according to the NCAA Tournament Committee. What was it about this group that led it to exceed those outside expectations?
Their passion and their commitment to the program, and it really started as soon as our season ended last year. We underachieved. We were not very happy, and they refocused and they regrouped on what they wanted to accomplish this year, and they spread that all summer long in embodying the culture of the program and buying into what we needed to do, and it carried throughout the entire year. I didn't have to motivate them. I didn't have to try to encourage them. Like, they want to be winners. They come to practice every single day trying to get better. And that carries over to what they do on the field. They're extremely passionate about what they do, and they want to be successful. And when you have players that are really bought into the program, it just makes it such a more enjoyable atmosphere. And when you talk about culture, culture truly does win. It doesn't matter what your stats are. It doesn't matter what it looks like on paper if you don't have the right people in the locker room. And they have completely bought into this program, and the success shows.
You mentioned that enjoyment, and you actually told some local media last week this is the most fun you've had in your 25 years of coaching. Where do you think that comes from? Is it that buy-in, or is there something else there?
It's that I don't have to motivate them in practice. Like, I don't have to go to practice, and I don't have to be a 10 to get the most out of them. They have it within themselves. They're so self-motivated and self-driven, so when they come to practice, they want to excel in everything they do, and now I can just give them the intangibles that they need and the skill set that they need. It allows me to be able to be relaxed and be myself as well. And I think we have the most fun when we can joke around, and they joke around with me, and now we have a better trust and a better relationship because we believe in one another.
Your team wound up with 34 road/neutral wins this season, which is a crazy number at the Power 5 level, led all major college teams, in fact, with that success away from Columbia. When you set up that schedule before the season, was there a thought that, hey, it might be a good idea to have those games away from home so that whenever you were able to put your resume in front of the committee, that might knock you up a couple spots?
Some of it's out of our control. Like, we have to play our first 4 weeks of the season on the road because of weather. But it's just making sure that we are signing up for the right tournaments to have the most competitive schedules. So it's intentional on where we go, and we recommend and we're able to select who we want to play in some of these tournaments. So it's kind of twofold. Some of the midweeks, they were home and away agreements that we had from last year. But also knowing that we have the personnel that we can withstand that, because it's extremely grueling to be able to spend as much time on the road as that we had to. If we didn't have the personnel and the strength within our team, we probably would have been beat up a lot more than we are right now in our season.
This is a special edition of Tiger Talk with Mizzou softball and head coach Larissa Anderson, against Sierra Harrison and Marissa McCann. A couple key members of the pitching staff for this crew will be coming along shortly. Fresh off a pretty darn good run in the SEC tournament last week. Haven't mentioned that yet. All the way to the championship game down at Auburn. A win against Ole Miss to get it started. A victory against Arkansas that took a little while to get finished. We'll talk a little bit about that coming up. And then an 8-inning thriller against LSU in the semifinals on Friday. So that whole week, the schedule ended up just being crazy. Right off the bat, you have to wait for a 14-inning game to get done, which was a record at the time, and then it was tied in the game after you folks. So you had that. Your quarterfinal was initially delayed several hours because of rain, and then it was delayed again in the middle to where you had to finish it up the following morning. And then later that day, after you finish up your quarterfinal, you've got to play a semifinal that, again, wound up going an extra inning. What do you think were some of the keys for your team to be able to handle an unexpected schedule down at Auburn?
It's our mental toughness, and we talk about it a lot, that there's things that are going to happen in the course of the game, especially in baseball and softball, where you're going to have rain delays. So we have to be able to disconnect ourselves, being able to mentally get down and emotionally not be so high, because you can't carry that emotion for 9-10 hours through the night. Right. So it's being able to decompress and then being able to turn it back on. So we've talked about it all year long, and it challenges us. But if we weren't mentally tough enough, you're not able to respond to some of that adversity.
When your team hit that delay against Arkansas on, I guess it was Thursday night, leading 2-1, you started Sierra Harrison. She had gone 4 innings. And then you go back to her 12 hours later. And that's obviously a big difference between baseball and softball, where you can go back to somebody overnight. Was there any thought of, okay, she started, she went through some pretty high leverage innings, let's go with someone else fresh? Or was there any thought that, hey, no, she's the person, let's go right back to her?
The challenge was, I knew we were going to win that game, because I know we're going to win every game that we play. The challenge is the next game that we have to play. So I knew I could bring in somebody fresh, but now is that going to burn them when we have to play 6-7 hours later? So I had a conversation with Sierra, and how do you feel Let's get you loose in the bullpen. Let's see how sharp you are, because again, we haven't put her in that situation either, and she looked really good. So you're going to stay out there as long as you possibly can, knowing that we still have the depth within the bullpen.
And she ended up delivering a successful fifth inning, ran into some trouble in the sixth, and you go to your bullpen and you call on Marissa McCann. First and second, no out in the sixth inning with the score 3-1. First batter gets on base. So now it's bases loaded and nobody out. And then you've got a true freshman in McCann who's able to shut the door from there. But we've seen similar situations from her throughout the season. What is it about her and her makeup and her success at this point that have led you to trust, again, a true freshman in a spot like that?
She has the ability to just move the ball. Like every ball that comes out of her hand, even if she misses her spots, it's spinning. So it's really, really difficult for the hitters to be able to square up a ball. So knowing that she's gonna compete, she competes her butt off every single time she's out there, but the ball isn't gonna be straight. So we have a better opportunity to be able to make some easy outs behind. And that first batter popped up a ball to first base in foul territory, and then she had two huge strikeouts with the bases loaded. But it's just because she has the ability to be able to move the ball, then it's a lot more difficult for the hitters.
Again, we'll talk more with McCann and Harrison coming up in just a few minutes here on Tiger Talk. Jenna Laird had a great SEC tournament. She led your team with a .429 batting average. She maybe had the highlight of the entire week against Arkansas, that sweet slide around the tag during a steal attempt at second base in the first inning. I watched the replay like 10 times at this point. I don't know how she did that. How did she do that?
Well, it's called a swim move, and we practice that, and in the fall, we do a lot of sliding practice, and we bring out the slip and slide, and we literally have
Nice.
water and bubbles on the slip and slide so they feel comfortable sliding. But it's one of those things that when you know the ball's going to beat you, you are sliding into the base, and you pull away that lead arm so then she can't tag, and now the tag is out of time. I've never seen it work as well as it did in a game. Like, that was textbook perfect. It was awesome to hear Jessica Mendoza say, I have never seen, you have no idea how hard that is. But, I mean, it was textbook in how she did it.
Props to, let's give it up for slip and slides,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It's a great educational tool. We had no idea.
They have a purpose.
The LSU win after that. Saw some clutch relief pitching, again from McCann. Also, Taylor Pennell, who we'll talk more about here in a second. Maddie Gallagher at the plate. She homers in the third inning. Then she delivers what, believe it or not, is the team's first walk-off win of the season. It was on a sacrifice fly in the eighth. Talking a little bit more about Gallagher, what was working for her at the plate against LSU?
She was seeing the ball extremely well. Earlier on in the game, she flew out to left field, and she was just not getting through it enough. She was on time. And I have a very good perspective of the left-handed hitters when I'm at third base. So I could see that she was on time. So immediately after that one at-bat to left field, I went to her and I'm like, you're on time, you're good. You just got to get through the ball a little bit more. Just keep your posture over home plate a little bit longer. And then, ironically, her next at-bat, she hits the home run. And I'm not saying it had anything to do with it, but she was seeing the ball really well. And that's the whole key for the confidence of the hitters.
Props to Gallagher, Laird, and Lauren Krings. Those were Mizzou's 3 representatives on the SEC All-Tournament team. So congratulations to those seniors for that honor. Now back to Taylor Pennell. She had a win and 2 saves last week. Pretty productive. That's now 14 saves on the year for her. That not only leads the nation, that's not only a Mizzou record. She's one away from the NCAA Division I record of 15. So that could be something that you can see if you check that out this weekend and Mizzou softball. But you've mentioned it before, somebody embracing a role. And I can't think of a better example of someone embracing a role than what Taylor Pennell has done for you this season.
She is so awesome coming out of the bullpen. One, she wants the ball. She wants to be in that atmosphere. She thrives in it. She's so unbelievably focused, and she's tough. She's completely different than all of her other pitchers. Obviously, she throws on the left-handed side. She has a changeup that she can throw in any count. The team knows it's coming, and they still can't hit it. That's how devastating her changeup is. And then when she cuts her curveball, it makes her curveball. She typically will throw 64, 65, but because everything's working off of her changeup, it comes in about 70 miles an hour because of the speed differential. But it's really her mentality. Like, she wants to be in that atmosphere and shut the game down for her team.
Tiger Talk with Mizzou softball head coach Larissa Anderson. The all-SEC team for the whole season was announced last week, too. 5 Tigers made that list. Jenna Laird, Alex Honnold, Abby Hay on the second team. Lauren Krings and Kaylee Langer were named SEC All-Defense. We've bragged on Laird and Honnold a lot this season already. Laird has earned SEC honors all 4 years here. She just set the program record for consecutive games played. That's at 238 and counting, and she started every one of those games, by the way. Honnold, meanwhile, holds the program's doubles record. She just went over 200 hits in her career last week, so terrific runs for both of them. Let's talk about Hay. Again, a freshman. She hit a 3-run homer, by the way, in the 10th inning at South Carolina to complete the road sweep earlier this month. She hit 328 this season and 318 in conference play, so it wasn't like she was getting fat on the non-conference competition or anything like that. This is, again, a freshman who spent most of her childhood playing baseball. Has she come along faster than even you expected?
I mean, you think with those numbers. She's one, and I love watching her play because every pitch she sees, I can see her just storing it in her memory bank. Like, she just gains information and gets better every single outing. And it's just so exciting to see someone like that have the success they do as a freshman. But it's exciting also for the future and what she's going to be able to bring to this program.
What makes Lauren Krings such a good defensive pitcher in terms of what she can do on the field?
I mean, all of our pitchers, they're really good defensive pitchers. Like, they take great pride in their PFPs, pitchers fielding practice. Like, we have pitcher fielding practice where they work on their bunt coverages and their ground ball work, but they take great pride. And if they take great pride in playing defense, you're almost adding a fifth infielder.
I don't want to jinx her, but she is fielding 1,000 so far this season.
Don't say
I shouldn't have brought that. Sorry.
Yeah.
Scratch that. We'll edit that out whenever we put it on the Inside Mizzou Athletics podcast feed later. Kaylee Langer, I mentioned all defense too, and we've talked about her in previous versions of this show. I just feel like Langer, she does so many things that impact winning that are beyond the main things you see in a box score, like hitting a home run or something like that. She leads your team in on-base percentage. She leads the entire conference in times hit by a pitch, which is at 19 at the moment, by the way. And again, being named SEC All-Defense, valuable in the field for you too.
So valuable. I mean, she's one, she turns the lineup over. She's so valuable at the bottom of the lineup and getting herself on base any way possible, and she knows her role is to get on base so then the top of the lineup can drive her in. But I think what's really special about Kaylee is that when we're at practice, she literally has a mental checklist of every possible situation, and she makes sure she covers it. She will position herself on her own to work on balls in the front, and then balls overhead, and then balls to her left, and balls to her right, to make sure she's covering everything and that she feels comfortable. She's the type of player that her will has exceeded her skill, like has outworked the system. And that's really what this program is all about. Like, we are going to outwork everybody that we play, and Kaylee really epitomizes that.
How valuable is that type of mental focus, especially for a corner outfielder who's someone who may not see a ball her way for several innings at a time, and then all of a sudden she's going to have one that's screaming over her head, and she's got to be locked in and ready to make a play?
Well, it's everything that we explained to the outfielders. Like, the damage has already been done because the ball's been hit to the outfield. Reduce the damage, but also make a game-winning play. And that's what Kaylee does. Like, one, she's so unbelievably vocal and supportive of her team, and you can always hear her throughout the entire game, and everyone feeds off of that energy on the field and also in the dugout. But when outfielders save a game on a ball that's hit pretty hard and they're laying out and making those plays, that immediately shifts the momentum into our dugout, and then it fires up our offense.
So good stuff again. Congratulations to Kaylee Langer, SEC All-Defense. Kara Daly, wanted to acknowledge she had another nice season, led your team in homers for a third straight year. She now has more than 100 career runs batted in. I don't want to talk about any of that. I want to talk about May 4th at South Carolina. It's the 5th inning. Katie Chester delivers a 2-out RBI single. Daly then rumbles around third and literally runs through your stop sign. And by that, I mean she took you out before she was called out at home. All right, let's start. Obviously, we're going to break this down in depth here.
Why do we have to go here?
Let's start. It's very important. It's very important reporting that we have to flesh out a little more.
This has nothing to do with the game.
Let's start. Okay, let's start with the victim impact statement from you. Walk us through that play from your perspective.
From my perspective, I was giving her the stop sign, and she took me out. Like, that's pretty much it. But, I mean, so the ball was in right center. I saw the throw coming towards third base, so I'm holding her at third base. She saw the third baseman blocking and that she had obstruction. She should have taken out the third baseman, but instead she decided to take out her coach. So she rounded around the third baseman who was obstructing, and there I am. And she plows over me, and then keeps going and slides into home and then wants the obstruction call after the fact as I'm laying on the ground watching the whole play.
And it goes to video review.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the review does not go your way, but she took that opportunity to come over, give you a couple hugs. You know, I don't know if she was just worried about preserving her playing time or what the thought process was there. What was that conversation like after the fact?
I mean, she got up, she was laughing and just kept saying, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." I wasn't, but I was. My ego was a little bruised. But it was all good fun. I mean, thankfully we won the game because I don't know if my reaction would have been the same if that was the winning run that we just lost by me obstructing.
Is that the most violent collision you've ever
That's
had?
the
on a
only
softball?
collision I've ever had.
As a player or a coach?
Yes.
To say it's not usually a contact sport. But.
No, but I think what topped it off is, I mean, we won the game, so we can all laugh about it now. But when we got on the bus, the team in the back of the bus was creating these memes and just constantly kept sending them in our group me, and it was me in that fetal position on the ground laying on a bed, and me on a surfboard, and me being held up by Simba in the Lion King. Like, so, which was absolutely hilarious. But then the next day, we get to the field, and I'm usually the last one that gets to the field, and there's a chalk outline made with medical tape of my body on the grass where I landed.
Okay,
Yeah.
but you
so that just tells you the culture of our team.
You are probable for the NCAA tournament, though, right? You're going to be good to go?
I'm good to go.
Excellent.
Yeah, and even if I wasn't, I'm still good to go.
Excellent. Love to hear that. So, with that being said, we're still going to give you a few minutes here to rest up for the final segment. We're going to bring on a couple of your pitchers. Sounds good?
Yeah.
That is Larissa Anderson, head coach of Mizzou softball. Again, she'll be back with us shortly. We're going to hear from Sierra Harrison and Marissa McCann here in a moment. First, Tiger fans, want you to say aloha to Hawaiian Bros. That's where the island-inspired flavors are positively delicious. You'll love favorites like Huli Huli Chicken, Luau Pig, and the delectable Dole Soft Serve. Hawaiian Bros, just south of campus on Grindstone Parkway. You can order also at hawaiianbros.com. We're also brought to you by Shelter Insurance, ranked #1 in customer satisfaction for auto insurance in the Central Region by J.D. Power, 5 out of the last 6 years. We're your shield. We're your shelter. Also, thank you to Raceline Alternative Energy, working for a better future in rural Missouri, working to restore millions of acres of native prairie plants, which can be harvested to produce highly valuable clean energy called Prairie Power. Visit them online at RacelineAlternativeEnergy.com. All right, time to talk with a couple of the key pieces of this Mizzou team, which again will be hosting NCAA tournament regional action starting on Friday in Columbia. We've got with us a freshman pitcher, allegedly from Surprise, Arizona, but she grew up right here in Columbia. We're reclaiming her for at least the next 4 years. Say hello to Marissa McCann, joining us for the next couple of minutes. We also have a sophomore pitcher. She's from the Show Me State, too. It's a Lee Summit native, Sierra Harrison. We'll hear from both of them here as we continue on Tiger Talk at Bud's Classic Barbecue in downtown Columbia. All right, let's start with the SEC tournament quarterfinal win against Arkansas. Sierra, you go the first 4 innings, giving up only a run. You don't get to pitch the 5th until the next morning because of another weather delay. So walk us through that process. You've got to ramp up, obviously, for a huge SEC tournament game. Then you've got to cool down overnight, and then you got to rev right back up again the next morning.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I looked at Coach when they said, "Oh, lightning delay," and I said, "Oh no." I said, "We just got the momentum." So I was really upset. Then we got back, got some dinner. And she was like, well, we got to, tone it down a little bit. And then because we got to get back up in the morning, it's going to be an early morning. And I went in my room, and my roommate was Abby. And I was like, Abby, I can't go to sleep. I was like, I don't care if we had to stay up till 12 o'clock to finish this game. I can't go to sleep right now. But, I finally winded down and then got back up the next morning. And Coach was like, I think you can go again. And I was like, yeah, I want to try to finish this game. And that's what I did. Went back out there in the 5th inning and then got in some trouble. And then my Marissa came out and had my back. So,
mm-hmm. Have you ever had to do that before? Start a game one day and then have to finish it the next morning at any level?
No, not at all. That has never happened. Ever.
Yeah, crazy. Marissa, as Sierra mentioned, you come in that game. There's 2 runners on in the 6th and no out. Before you know it, the bases are loaded with no out. What was your mindset to get the next 3 batters out and wind up stranding all the runners?
I mean, like, I just knew, like, I had to keep working. Like, Cece had pitched such a great game, and, like, she said, like, she went through a lot, like, working on her mindset. So when I was, like, in that situation, like, I just had to do my best to help Cece out, help the rest of the team out, and get the job done.
Got the first out on an infield fly. All right, easy enough there. The second out was pretty epic. I mean, it was against their catcher, Kennedy Miller. It was an 11-pitch at bat. It gets to a 3-2 count before you're able to get the strikeout. Can you walk us through that sequence?
Yeah, I mean, she just kept fouling off, like, ball after ball after ball. And I'm just, like, at some point, I'm like, okay, like, just like, swing and miss. And, yeah, I just kept, like, working on hitting, like, my location, my movement, and yeah.
Ended up getting it done, yeah. Sierra, I assume you never want to come out, but what's it been like to know that you've got somebody like Marissa in the bullpen ready to go to back you up?
I mean, all the trust in the world, and our bullpen and anybody I know that's going to come in is going to have my back. So, I mean, yeah, obviously I don't ever want to come out of the game, but I know that someone's going to come in and get the job done.
Marissa, you've got someone on your team right here in Sierra who got a lot of experience as a freshman, kind of similar to you. What have you learned from Sierra so far during your time here?
Cece is, like, she's been able to, like, show me a lot. And I've learned a lot from her, like, mentally too. Like, Cece's so mentally tough, so it's just really awesome being able to watch her out on the mound and take, like, things that she does and try to incorporate it into my game as well.
What about the only senior pitcher on this roster, Marissa, Lauren Krings? What have you learned from your time with her?
Yeah, Lauren's awesome. Lauren competes every single pitch. She just wants the ball all the time. She's so mentally tough, and so watching her, like, every time she's on the mound, just always so good for me to learn what she's doing, and I'm constantly, like, still learning every time she's out on the mound.
Sierra, same question for you. What have you learned in a year plus, almost 2 years now with Lauren Krings?
Yeah, I would say Lauren definitely took me under her wing freshman year coming in. I've just learned just how to compete, how to go out there and, like, literally just mow batters down. That's all she does. She's like the biggest competitor ever. Like, even if we're just, like, in a bullpen practicing, like, she's like, I bet you can't do this. And I'm like, I bet you I can. Yeah, we always have a very competitive mindset with each other. And I've learned just so much from her.
Are you guys, like, is there any stakes? Are you guys betting anything on legally? Not like money. You know what I mean. It's like extra push-ups or something on the line. I don't know.
Oh yeah. Definitely running is a big one. Or burpees or something like that, push-ups, something in the bullpen where we're like, if you can't do this, then you have to do this. So, yeah.
Pitchers Sierra Harrison and Marissa McCann joining us here on Tiger Talk. Sierra, you pitched almost 70 innings as a freshman. You got some postseason reps last season too. What did you learn from all that you feel like is helping you now as you've clearly taken a step forward as a sophomore?
I feel like the biggest thing that I remember from last year was Coach coming up to me, like, towards the end of the season and just asking me, like, what I've learned from Jordan Weber and Lauren Krings, like, being able to, like, see them go out there and compete. And I think the biggest thing was just knowing that I'm playing in the SEC, and this is, like, the most challenging conference, like, in softball. So just, like, knowing where to place the ball and having a lot better spin. So I think I also stayed over the summer to get a lot stronger. So I think that helped a lot too. And then just really working on with Coach, like, just spin and then learning how to incorporate my changeup into my game too.
Marissa, what's been the biggest adjustment for you from high school to college?
I would say the biggest adjustment is, like, you do have to compete, like, every single pitch. If you're not fully in on it, like, you're just going to get lit up. Like, in high school, you can get away with leaving balls over the plate. You can get away with like, not as much spin on the ball, but, like, that does not fly here. So every single pitch, you just have to be, like, on it because every hitter is just so good, and they're, like, they're always out to get you, and so just making sure you're just focused on, like, every single pitch.
Those darn hitters, they're always out to get you. So mean, so rude, right? As I mentioned, you grew up here before moving to Arizona. When you learned you were going to have the chance to come back and play college softball here, what was your reaction?
My very first reaction, like, I was just in awe the whole time, but when I remember finally, like, making the decision and telling my parents, like, I'm gonna like come back to Mizzou. Like we all cried together, and it was a really cool moment. But like I still can't believe it that like I'm here. Little me would just be like screaming with excitement. So it's really, really cool, and I'm really, really blessed to be here.
And speaking of that experience that you had here in Columbia, you were able to, didn't even need the GPS, right? You were able to cruise around town pretty much right away when you got back?
Yeah, that was really cool. I wasn't really like expecting to be able to just know my way around because I didn't think, I paid that much attention being in the car when I was little, but I was, so.
Well, and not only that, so you get this opportunity just to be on the team, but you're not just on the team. Like we were just mentioning, you've been in some really pressure-packed situations. Did you think that was a possibility this early in your career to be out there in such clutch moments?
I mean, I'm gonna say no. Like I didn't think that's what would happen, but I'm really thankful that like Coach believes in me and gives me the opportunity to go out there and get the job done.
Sierra, of course, you've had a lot of success getting the job done for a year plus here. Back in high school, you lost your father when you were 16 years old. You said at one point you weren't sure about even continuing to play after that. What motivated you to return to this game?
I just had a lot of motivation from my mom and my brother. My mom was just told me like right after he passed that he would want me to play and want me to go somewhere. I mean, I've dedicated my whole life to softball, so do what he would want you to do. And so that motivated me, and then I continued to play high school ball my junior year and then kept going from there.
Certainly did, and you were the state player of the year in Missouri at Lee Summit North, finished with more than 1,000 career strikeouts, which is crazy. You had other options besides Mizzou. What was it about this place that made you feel like it was the right college home for you?
Stepped on campus, and everyone says, like in the recruiting process, when you know. Came here, and I knew. I went to a couple other places before coming here, and I just did not have that feeling. And obviously, with the tragedy in my family that I had with my dad, I wanted to stay closer to home. So it was a very good decision. Glad that I came here.
I would agree. It's worked out pretty darn well on our side of the fence, too, here at Mizzou. You've had a lot of success already and been really productive. With that said, you don't exactly look like Kat Osterman out there. Listed at 5'2", how are you still able to generate so much power?
That's a really good question. I'm not really sure. I don't know. I've seen a lot of people talk about like my stature and how I'm built and stuff like that. I just think that I use everything that I have when I push off the mound. And if I don't, I mean, it's not gonna come in as hard as I would like it to. So, I mean, just lifting, getting stronger, and just trying to build muscle.
So Omaha's the first opponent on Friday. I skimmed their roster. I saw another Lee Summit North grad, their starting catcher, Sydney Ross. Are you ready? You ready for her? You remember her?
Yes, I'm so excited to see her. Yeah, she was my catcher in high school, so my freshman year. So very excited to see her.
Be an interesting reunion among many that'll be coming up here in just a few days. Marissa, favorite song off the new Taylor Swift album is what?
I like the song Fresh Out the Slammer.
Okay. Nice. So my daughter's, I'm trying to think. Well, I was going to say one of my daughter's favorites is Florida, but judging how the game went on Saturday, I probably shouldn't talk about that song at all. But is Taylor Swift also like your go-to hype music, or is something else for that?
I wouldn't say go-to hype music. I listen to her when I'm like in the car and driving, and she's just like all the way up. Or when I go on like my drives around Columbia, I have Taylor Swift up like all the way.
My daughter's favorite is I Can Do It With a Broken Heart, by the way. I don't know if you probably like that one. That's a good one. I mean, it's a good song. It's not the great subject matter, but it's really perky and upbeat as long as you don't listen to the words. Sierra, are you also a Swiftie, or do you just roll your eyes and tolerate it?
Yep, just roll my eyes and tolerate it. I'm not a Swiftie.
That's fair. I feel like that's a pretty common divide among even households like mine. Sierra, currently a psychology major, right? How did classes go this semester?
Very good, very well, yeah. I'm very happy with what my grades look like this semester.
Good to hear. Whenever softball is done for you, however many years down the road that is, what do you anticipate doing potentially with that psychology major?
Well, I think I want to work with children, so I am getting a minor in education, I think. So I want to go the counselor route, therapy, some type of route in that realm, but I do want to work in a school.
Very cool. Marissa, starting out anyway in rehabilitation sciences, how did school go for you your first couple semesters?
It was good. Definitely different from high school because I learned you actually have to study. But it was good.
And same question for you. Whenever softball is done, what do you anticipate doing with that degree?
I want to be a child life specialist, so I want to work in hospitals with kids who are maybe like going through like chemo or having problems, and just like providing therapy for them and their mental health and the families as well.
Very cool. Well, best of luck to both of you with all of that down the road. But now it is time, of course, for the main event of this segment. And Marissa, you're younger, so you have to go first. Marissa McCann, something about Sierra Harrison that we don't already know.
Cece hates bugs. Yesterday we were like walking down to the football field, and she was on like the opposite end, and I just heard her yell, "Spider!" like at the top of her lungs. It's just so funny, but Cece always is swatting the bugs away from her.
How big was the spider?
Probably it was not that big, but
I appreciate you being honest.
I can't do any type of bugs, which is so crazy because I do play an outside sport, so but I can't do the bugs.
Got the spray going, I guess, trying to keep them away.
Absolutely.
Fair. All right. Sierra Harrison, something about Marissa McCann we don't already know.
Okay, so Marissa does have a tattoo on her ankle, but there's a little story behind that. We went to Texas, the stockyards. We got to go to the stockyards, but Coach was not there when we went to the stockyards. She was scouting, and we were left with hitting coach Jeff, and he just let us do whatever we wanted to, and Marissa McCann came back with a duck on her ankle. So she got a tattoo while we were at the stockyards. Coach got back on the bus and said, "What happened? Why did I leave you guys with Jeff?" So she was like, "Never again, but glad you got a tattoo of a duck on your ankle."
Well, first of all, sorry to Jeff for catching a stray on this. I didn't anticipate that. Let's talk about this duck, which I do see, and it does look very cute.
Thank you.
What's the story behind the duck?
There's no story. Like I just got the duck and I liked it. A kind of a funny story. I was trying to keep it from my mom and my dad, but I accidentally texted my mom about it.
Accidentally texted.
Like I know I was trying to text Nat about my tattoo, and I texted my mom, and I was like, "Oh no!" And she was like, "What?" I like deleted the text. She was like, "What was that?" And I was like, "What was what?" And she was like, FaceTime me right away, and she was like, "Do you have a tattoo?" And I was like, "Yeah." and then I told her, and she wasn't even mad, but it was just funny.
If Mizzou makes the Women's College World Series, are you going to be looking for like a tattoo parlor in Oklahoma City, or what's the plan there?
No, I can't. My mom said no.
You're saying she says that now. We'll see how things look in a couple of weeks. Hey, Sierra Harrison, Marissa McCann, awesome work so far. Keep it up the rest of the way. Thanks so much for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Let's give it up for a couple of Mizzou's top pitchers, both current and future. Appreciate their time. We'll have Coach Anderson rejoin us here momentarily as we remind you that Socket Fiber is now available, the fastest, most reliable internet combined with local service and simple billing. Contact Socket today for voice, data, and internet services for your home and business. 1-800-SOCKET-3 or visit socket.net. Sophia's and Addison's restaurants, great local spots to visit before or after all Mizzou home games. Addison's has 2 locations in Southwest and downtown Columbia and features over 20 beers on tap, including local brewers and, of course, the famous Nachos Bianco. So remember, before or after the game, stop by Addison's. Head coach Larissa Anderson is back with us now. So your hitting coach, his babysitting duties are revoked, I
Yep,
guess?
he's never going to be allowed to be supervising the team ever again.
So I don't
Yep.
know if you say this, and I don't mean this to say that coaches just say this as a cliche. I mean, I'm sure a lot of them really mean it, but they're like, if you bring your daughter here, they're going to be like our daughters. We're going to treat them like family. And then did you have to have a conversation with mom and dad about like, yeah, we went on a road trip and your daughter is inked
I'll let
up
Jeff
now?
have those conversations.
I think he's earned it. Well, there's no debate about the success that they've helped to bring to your pitching staff. Just huge strides statistically this season. Finished 3rd in the SEC in ERA, more than a run better than you were last year. And what's even more exciting about that, more than 60% of the innings your team has pitched, almost every ball basically not thrown by Lauren Krings, was pitched by freshmen and sophomores like McCann, like Harrison. How exciting is that for you, not just from what we're seeing this season, but what the future looks like in the circle for your program?
Extremely exciting. I mean, the experience that they're gaining right now at this level, the success that they're having, the potential that I see that they have is extremely exciting for the future.
Marissa McCann was a great story in the preseason. Someone who loves this place, moved away. You give her a chance to come back home, but it wasn't just like one of these sympathy cases of, oh, she'll be nice in the clubhouse, we'll just give her a scholarship. I mean, she can sling it too. This was not some sympathy case here.
No, it was, but the funny story is that when I first heard that there was this kid from Arizona that wanted to come to Mizzou, and she used to be from here, and I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, there's 1,000 of those kids, and I'm not really interested to take a charity case. And then I saw her throw, and I'm like, okay, I'm very interested in this case. And then having her on campus, and I knew it was just a match made in heaven, and we just needed to be able to make it work. But it's probably one of the best stories that we have to be able to bring her back home.
Sierra Harrison's a pretty darn good story, too, another in-state kid who's made good. You've said specifically about her that Harrison just has that it factor. How so? Go into that a little
She
more.
does. I mean, when she's on the mound, her competitiveness is through the roof. And you never know she's 5'2". Like, she plays like she's 6'2". And in talking with a lot of pitching minds, she was exactly right. Like, she uses her body to the fullest extent to get as much power that she does. She's fundamentally perfect, and she has the ability to be able to read swings and put the ball where it needs to go so it's not hit hard. When Sierra was talking about her recruiting experience here, it reminded me of when she did commit. And she was on campus a couple times, and she wanted to come back for a football game, and she wanted to bring her brother. And so we spent the whole day together. We met with Coach Drink, if you remember this, and we went through the whole South End Zone. Like, we pulled out all the bells and whistles, the red carpet. I'm exhausted at the end of the day, and I'm like, I don't know what else to do for this kid. Like, I'm done. I'm done. And we walked back to the office, and she sat in the office. I'm like, Sierra, I don't know what else more I can do. Either you're coming or you're not. And she's like, I'm coming. I'm like, why did you wait to the end of the day? Like, we could have had a really good time at the football game. But, I mean, she wanted to really take the whole thing in and wanted her brother to be a part of it. And it was just a really special day for all of us.
Very cool, and it certainly worked out very well for your program. These two underclassmen that we've been bragging on here, you also have a pretty darn good senior class. And April 28th, you honored all 5 of your seniors. We talked a lot again on these shows about Jenna Laird, Alex Honnold, Lauren Krings, Maddie Gallagher, such valuable pieces, all starters for you. We haven't talked as much about Shantice Phillips, so I wanted to give you a chance before her run ends at Mizzou. What has Shantice Phillips meant to this program?
You know what's really neat with these players that really impact the program and impact my life? I can tell you exactly the moment I saw them and the moment that I knew that I wanted them to be a part of this program. And Shantice is one of them. And it was my first summer that I had the job, and I'm out recruiting, and I'm getting acclimated to the Midwest, and I'm watching a game, and Shantice is up to bat, and we were done with our recruiting. Like, all the money was spent. We didn't have any scholarship money at the time. And I was watching her, and I was like, I have to get this kid. I have to find a way to be able to bring her on campus. And so we worked extremely hard to be able to make it work. But she is that contagious personality. You want to be around her. She believes in everybody. She's enthusiastic. She's extremely passionate, and she's honest. And she's one that has been so loyal to this program and has been a part of it for 4 years and really has made us better in every aspect.
Excellent. Speaking of honorees that weekend, the field doctor, the director of turf, Jerry Cummings, he was honored for 30 years of service, gave him a special jersey. It was fitting, actually, because you managed to get games in that weekend despite there being a ton of rain. So he worked, and he showed why he was recognized. But, well, people like Jerry Cummings, what do they mean to help your program?
They're a part of it. Like, we can't do what we do every day without people like Jerry and the support that they give and the pride that they have in not only just their job, but being a part of our program. And they get the wins just the same way we do, because if they don't do their job, our job is meaningless. And our job is completely unimportant if we don't have people that are surrounding our program. So people like Jerry and Steve as his assistant, I mean, they take such great pride in our facility in making sure that we give the best atmosphere and the best conditions for our student athletes.
We'll hope for good conditions weather-wise coming up this weekend at Mizzou Softball Stadium. Again, starting with Omaha on Friday. Summit League tournament champions. Their pitcher, Cameron Meyer, was named the tournament MVP. On their staff is a young lady by the name of Emma Robbie, who just graduated from here in 2022. It's her first year as an assistant at Omaha, so it'll be a bit of a homecoming for her. What else should we know about the Mavericks?
You know, they're going to be ready to play. I mean, she's been preparing them. She's ingrained Mizzou into that program. So, I mean, she's done a tremendous job in developing a lot of their players, and we've talked all season long, not knowing that they're going to come here. So I almost feel like I have a little inside information. But they're going to be competitive. They're going to be ready to go. I mean, that mid-major teams have to win their conference tournament to make it to the NCAA tournament. So they know how to win. And that's the it factor that they bring in. And then we experienced that when James Madison came here. Like, winners win, and they know how to win. So we have to be able to almost stifle that momentum that they have because they feel really good holding up that trophy at the end of their conference tournament.
Any early impressions on Washington and Indiana? Again, you'll play one of those two coming up on Saturday.
I think what's really interesting about Washington, I mean, one, they're a World Series team. They were in the World Series last year, so they obviously have a high level of experience, but they have a lot of Midwestern talent. So now they're coming into the Midwest, and they're playing in front of their home crowd. So that's going to be another factor that we're going to have to be able to reduce so they don't feel comfortable in our environment.
Were you able to successfully get both the championship belt and the hammer back with you from the SEC tournament?
Of course. I'm not responsible for that. Like, we have people that are designated that have the hammer and take care of that championship belt. But, yeah, it doesn't go anywhere.
All right, we've talked about the championship belt on this show, which is what they get whenever they hit a home run. It may or may not have a spelling error on it, and we're not going to throw any other underclassmen under the bus again for that. But what about the hammer? We haven't talked about the hammer before. I was watching the SEC tournament on TV, and somebody was like, brandishing a hammer like they were going to hit somebody or something. What's that about?
That's a metaphor that Coach Cottrell has used in the past on you want to be the hammer, you don't want to be the nail. So continue to be that hammer that you are in control and you're pounding that nail and down and you don't let that nail come up. And we were at another venue, and I'm not going to disclose where we were or how we found it, but somehow it ended up on our bus. So we have this hammer now that looks like it's from the 1700s. It's extremely old. But that's what we're using it to be, the hammer, not the nail.
All right, tattoos and petty theft
Yes,
on the roads with Mizzou softball. It's a rough bunch. It's a rough bunch. You could tell when we were talking with Marissa and Sierra. They're just a bunch of rough and tumble kids out there. One more shout out before we wrap up here to Mizzou softball fans. Tigers wound up ranked 4th in the country in terms of average attendance in 2024. More than 2,500 showed up for the typical game this season. It's going to be well over 2,500 coming up this weekend. But, we mentioned so many games on the road, and some of that's by weather and other reasons. But how impressive and how important is that to have that much fan support this season?
It is so awesome. I mean, it's so great for our athletes to play in front of that many people, but it makes such an impact on the game. And when we played at Auburn and they had great crowds and they said they were sold out, you didn't feel that energy. And the way that Auburn Stadium was set up, you almost feel like the fans aren't a part of the game. And in our venue, there's a huge part of it. They're almost on top of the field and the way the berm is, and it just bounces off of each other. I just got a text while I was off, and Sierra and McCann were up here, but we currently have 1,250 tickets sold for the regional this weekend, and they're not even online.
They're not open to general admission yet.
Which is just so awesome. The excitement and what an impact it can make on our game.
Y'all better get those tickets now. Well, Coach, it's been a lot of fun to do a few of these shows this spring. Why don't you go play like 10, 15 more games, and we'll catch up again next season.
I like the sound of that. Thank you. M-I-Z.
Z-O-U. That is the head coach of your Missouri Tigers, Larissa Anderson. Our thanks to her. Thanks to Marissa McCann and Sierra Harrison for joining us, too. Again, general admission tickets for all sessions go on sale tomorrow morning, Tuesday morning at 10, and then the individual session tickets Wednesday morning at 10. Your Tigers take the field on Friday to open NCAA tournament play against Omaha at 4:30, and then we'll match up against either Washington or Indiana coming up on Saturday. Big thanks to Andrew Bristow for his work behind the scenes. I'm Brad Tornago. This has been Tiger Talk from Learfield.